Welcome back, members of Parliament, to this Central Committee meeting with the presence of the Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport and Telecommunication, Mrs. Grisha Maarten. I will immediately give the floor to the Minister to begin answering the questions posed by the members of Parliament in the meeting thus far. Minister, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Chair Lady. Good afternoon to the Secretary General. Good afternoon to the members of Parliament, and a pleasant good afternoon to everyone. I'll start with the questions from MP Silvera Jacobs regarding the potential switch from agri into schools to the GO project. She was a bit concerned with moving the funds. The word redirect was used erroneously, so the intention is to expand on the current funds allocated for the agriculture in school programs. As it relates to the E6 projects involving agriculture, the ministry is currently busy with the following agriculture-related projects. This might answer a lot of the questions. What I would like to say before continuing with the questions, with the answers to the questions posed by the members of Parliament, is that we're really much more so in the beginning stage of creating the agriculture department. The plan is in general to use the year to go to take time in the year 2025 to establish the agriculture department. So it should take at least a year, and ultimately we would like to have a full ALF department by 2026. So most of where we are right now is in a fact-finding stage and more research stage and development stage. So most of my questions will be answered in that form. So the E6 projects. The agricultural loans, which will be facilitated to Q credits, that is an ongoing thing that we will continue with 2%. The actual saving on the interest will be more than 5%. And through the E6 project, majority of the interest payments will be financed, leaving a 2% loan. The agriculture research projects, which also includes, will focus on the following. The area for research will consist of developing a web portal where stakeholders can register and create a profile based on relevant filters. The portal is intended to be a web interface that serves as a system for sharing and collecting knowledge, data, resources, and content that from different sources into a single platform coordinated by the Ministry of TIAT. The next step is to conduct a pilot research project where we can create a guaranteed sellers market for the farmers, where they will be able to display their products in selected and or participating local supermarkets, whereby this value chain is monitored and analyzed. Here, the analysis will focus on, for instance, the availability of the produce from participating farms and quality standards of produce, engaging farmers and retail partners and aligning interests, sustainable practices, recommendations for tax potential schemes, and consumer feedback. Another one is a feasibility study where we will be able to inventorize what kind of material a farmer will need to improve or scale up the produce of farmers' performance once facilitated with a specific set of tools and goods. In this part of the research, selected farmers will be supplied with material goods such as fencing, matting, water tanks, fertilizers, and water at a reduced cost to ensure that the water can be made available at a reduced rate, and a study of the quality of the water in wells and the wells themselves also forms part of the project. So this projects alone will cover the entire well policy that we're planning to work under the E6 projects. We're working on the well policy and water quality policy. Another one is, one thing is that training programs at this time cannot fit in the E6 project because of all of these other projects. And another project that is being looked at as part of the research through the E6 project is a floating farm. This is still in the initial stages. where potential investors are scheduled to visit the island to conduct an assessment before the end of 2024. This is just in the initial stages to see if it's possible to have a floating farm, which will be great for agritourism if we do get that project going. Another question related to the OCT she had on the MP Jacobs had. Are consultations or collaborations taking place between the departments in TIAT and BAC? Yes, ministries of TIAT and ministries of RAMI and ministries of AZET, BAC, and VSA are in contact with each other on this. She also suggested, MP Jacobs also suggested to find alternative fundings to continue for schools project. This was based on her concern. Currently, the E6 component only allows for research in order to substantiate the way forward. A simple switch will still allow the schools to remain engaged, and the concept was to not create dependencies, but to allow them to start and stimulate interest, and by extension, find ways to sustain longevity. MP Jacobs also asked, how does the Ministry of TIAT aim to utilize the research done by Eugene and USM? That was based on the research research report. Research is being fed into a large scope to develop the agri-sector into a more structured manner. The data will provide insights into the demand and supply, and the supply side, how to align the supermarkets with the farmers by making the local produce readily available to the public. It will also be used to help identify the number of farmers and quantity of produce grown. The next stage will be to gather data on the local poultry and fisheries. Other projects include a web portal, I think I mentioned this earlier, as a solution to address the lack of the coordination, local expertise, and capacity. The portal will have a web address and website interface and serves as a system for sharing and collecting knowledge, data, research, and content from different sources to a single platform coordinated by the Department of ETT. It aims to connect stakeholders and supports policies and regulations and regulation implementation, coordination of food system activities and practices, technical capacity building, spreading awareness, and education for all stakeholders. The portal is designed to support local food production value chains as a support and service tool that can be utilized by farmers, government, suppliers, etc., and can serve as an interim online LVV station department in the absence of a physical department. This would be cheaper to set up than actually setting up an LVV department with the additional expenses. MP Jacobs also asks, how are we collaborating the initiatives with E6? How is that going? How is that doing? And what does E6 projects entail? And what are their yearly goals until 2026? E6 measures project result 7, the stimulation of investment in agri-sector through the cooperation with Dutch Caribbean Coast for research on how to scale up the production. The area for the research will consist of developing, again, the web portal is kind of repeating that. I mentioned that already. Conduct a pilot project with the farmers, I mentioned that already. And a feasibility study for farmers' performance, which I think I also mentioned already. What is the plan moving forward for fisheries? The plan to have a baseline study done to ascertain what is happening in the fishing industry. We need to know what is taking place on St. Maarten before we can meet other islands to form an agreement. So we haven't really delved into that as yet, but that does have our attention. Success. So MP Jacobs also suggested including Saba, Anguilla, and especially in the area on Conch. The plan of approach regarding fishery is being mapped out, as stated before, by the Department of ETT alongside LNV within the inspection department. When the research is updated, it will be presented to the minister, to me, to my person, for input and a way forward. Water costs, GB overproduction of water. The extra overproduction can be donated to farmers, which can help lower their costs of water procurement. Conversations have started with NVGEBE regarding water and making it more affordable to individuals within the industry. The way in which we would do so still needs to be mapped out and agreed upon. Once that is concluded, we will inform accordingly as well. Has TIAT investigated the possibility of legislative changes? Legislation is being reviewed through one of the E6 projects, Project Result 1, which is currently being finalized as the contract is currently being vetted by EZNWay, by the Legal Affairs, for decision-making and thereafter the Council of Ministers. Access to land, MP Jacobs stated, include the zoning plans in collaboration with Minister Vrami that the hillside can be used for farming as per the situation as a Ras Bushman. Yes, indeed, Minister Jacobs, discussions are being had with the Ministry of Vrami and stakeholders who have property to see what can be made possible. For sure that it has our attention. Actually, there's a parcel of land that we're about to discuss soon in the Council of Ministers. So as soon as we have an idea where we want to go with that, I will come back and inform Parliament as well. Leased land by government. Has government considered any consideration for Suriname and the Dominican Republic? We are aware of the MOU existing with the Dominican Republic. However, there are other countries that we would like to also explore options with in regards to the ALF prior to making commitments as what could be a possible short term. How do we make it affordable for St. Maarten, and how does the healthy food remain affordable? By using modern farming techniques, as in yellow sage, and hence also the GO project, which speaks to that. Train the Trainers that is meant to share the techniques and knowledge with schools and community. Has the ministry investigated collaboration with the Justice Ministry to have inmates do such and create jobs? As mentioned previously, the ministries are working alongside one another and to meet all the priorities as mentioned by the government of the ALF as that part. What has the ministry taught in community farming and the scarcity of land, possibly to allocate specific land for farming? During COVID-19, it became clear to the ministry that community farming became trendy. I mentioned that in my presentation. Because of this, the ministry has gathered information of best practices that will be shared to ensure food is grown for consumption safety. Land scarcity also allowed the ministry to consider that days of traditional farming may be limited, and much method like the hydroponics and the aquaponics should be equally promoted to ensure sustainability. MP Jacobs also asked, were there any conversations with GB for specific tariffs for farming, special tariffs for local products in using water? As mentioned, yes, conversation has been made with GB regarding the distribution, GB's distribution manager was had in the past. Conversation is still ongoing with stakeholders to come to an agreement in regards to water distribution. Is there a financial breakdown for having such a department? The Agriculture, Livestock and Fishery Policies, which was published as of December 2022, elucidates the early stages of what a department would cost, which would look like. Page 37 and 38 reads as follows. Restructure and strengthen of the Agriculture, Livestock and Fishery section within the ministry. It is recommended to review and restructure and strengthen this section in order to formalize activities and policies for the development and agriculture. Based on the feedback from the section head on the desired information and structure, the following structure is being proposed. And I think the amount is to achieve this formation, according to what is written in the policy, it's 1.5 million guilders. This is what is slated in the policy, and this is what we're going to try to follow. Then The question was asked, the creation of policy to generate revenue, policy on who can access the wells and what costs, and have a culling season for invasive species. So the agriculture policy already has most of that covered, so the revenue generations and wells. So the culling season, however, is being discussed with islands, including our northern counterparts, and how best it's done, and if that method and practice works for us, especially from a legal point of view. Any required changes will be taken into the E6 legislation. Excuse me. In regard to the schools, when will the project start? The project is slated to start October 2024. Announcements will be made via government platforms. Are there any collaborations between Minister of Justice and Minister of TIAT? Again, yes, collaborations among ministries are ongoing, especially in these areas of priorities. Does the vision for the market include cultural articles on sale and local produce? We're currently exploring developing a policy that addresses the potential and diverse types of products that can be sold at the local vendor market. The marketplace is the vision, according to the Prime Minister, marketplace is the vision also going to include, okay, I think I'm repeating that question. And what is the Minister TIAT position on the growth of cannabis? Now, as part of the government continuity, and as mentioned in the policy, the ALF policy, legalization of cannabis should be explored as part of many ALF revenue-generating initiatives. Currently, the legislation for the legalization of cannabis is taking this component into consideration alongside the regulation as well. Where is the local produce being sold? At the marketplace, currently we do not have a farmer's market. The ministry has supported a farmer's market at Port-au-Plaisance. The intention is to explore an area at the Carnival Village, which can be utilized for the farmer's market. The Festival Village, Jocelyn. Yes, I have to say the new name. In the Is the minister's, my last question from MP Jacobs, is it the minister's intention to continue to use the existing policy as such moving forward and making the necessary legislation changes? Yes. With revisions and updates when and where necessary, legislation and adaptation will take place through a separate E6 project that will focus on legislation. Next, I move forward to the questions from MP Roseberg. Smiling at me and waiting anticipatedly. What more info on projects, details on both projects? I guess she wants more information on projects. So I think I kind of answered most of it, but I'm going to just repeat. The government of St. Maarten has identified agriculture in school. I mentioned that earlier. And as such, the government initiated partnership with 8 schools on the islands desirous of expanding their agriculture. The 8 identified schools are primary schools as Sister Borgia, Sister Marta, Sister Marie-Laurence, Sister Regina, St. Dominic Primary School, Asha Stevens Hillside Protestant School, and the secondary schools are Sundial School and St. Dominic School. So the program will also engage 9 people from the community to be trained in hydroponic system, and the trainers program is funded by the Green Overseas EU organization and is scheduled to start in October of this year, next month. She also asked about the Turning Point Agri project, busy with, if they're busy with agriculture, and the TIAT and Justice look into it. Not to date, however, it was noted, and from your question, and on a previous MP, and we will explore that as well. That's something to explore that we're going to be taking into consideration, actually both at the prison and Turning Point. It's very important that we have the engagement there. My next question is from MP Brug. MP Brug asks, what would be an ideal amount of budget to be able to run the Department of Agriculture? And I kind of mentioned that earlier. It will be based on what's written in the policy, 1.5 million guilders. Right now, I think our budget is 600 less? Oh, yeah, that's true. By 10% of that, 100-something thousand guilders. That's it. That's what our budget is now. I forgot to mention that earlier, so that you know we're going 10 times more, or more, but 10 times, 10.5. And another question from MP Burke is, what is the, sorry through you, Madam Chair Lady. Another question from MP Burke is, what is the ministry's thought as it relates to community farming? The ministry made note that particularly during COVID-19, the type of farming became trendy locally, where beds were shared in open spaces, and it was a great way to remain active at home. It is a practice we encourage. However, we do not. Yeah, I noticed we have a little extra word there. We do not establish best practices, and sharing via PR campaigns is what is required to ensure safety consumption. A little. But anyway, the ministry will be doing much more of set releases in the coming months regarding that. Is the idea to discuss with Minvrami to allocate land specifically for farming? I said that earlier. Discussions between the ministries are ongoing. However, to take into consideration that traditional farming is also not as prevalent due to land scarcity. So we encourage all methods of farming to move forward and to ensure sustainability, especially from the disaster management perspective. My next questions are from MP Arian. MP Arian asked, were there any conversations with GB regarding establishing special tariffs for waters or special tariffs for locally produced made products? The first part, yes, I mentioned it earlier. As mentioned previously, MP, the discussion with GEBE to date included what would be possible, and giving other pressing matters that the entity faced, no recent discussion took place. Nonetheless, the ministry will be picking up these discussions in the coming months. And in response, I would also suggest including a tax break for registered farmers and entrepreneurs. But I do agree with what the MP is suggesting. Great suggestions, MP. Through you, Madam Chair Lady. What does the cost of the department look like? We kind of mentioned that already. And what is the timeline? I kind of, in my opening statement, stated that we need 1 year to bring this to fruition. So we're looking at maybe 2026 to have a full-fledged ALF department. What policies, legislations, no cost figures were included in the presentation? Well, the ALF policy exists, and it has figures that can be referenced, and the ministry has been working with a budget of 350,000 guilders in the past few years, and that doesn't really do any justice. Well, 350,000 guilders? But then now it has now dropped the last couple of years at 100,000 guilders, correct? Yes, so the budget amendment will be proposed regarding, this budget amendment will be coming in the 2025 budget to reflect an increase to just get us over the realization of the, I don't think the full 1.5 million guilders, but at least an increase in the budget to allow us to realize the department. MP Arian also asks, is the government looking at water subsidy and what will be included in the 2025 budget? The ministry is currently in discussion, as stated before, with GB regarding rate adjustments for water. MP Arian also mentioned Q credits, farmer loans, provide an update of this project. The ministry, in collaboration with ADVO and ADVO and TWO, as it relates to the finalization of the proposal regarding the 2% loans that will be made available through Q credits. This project is expected to be implemented in 2025 and will also include training programs for participants. The MP suggested government water truck stations at Vromi Yard and the government-owned water trucks. The water trucks will form part of the project that entails being able to deliver water from the wells to the farmers. Currently, we do not have a policy regarding who and how the wells are utilized. This, again, will be done under the E6 project, and this will also be taken up, like I said, in the E6 project. MP Arian also asks, any updates regarding the work from the Nature Foundation? When did they get the funds from Minister Tiat and Vrami? The Ministry of Tiat does not have a SLA with the Nature Foundation regarding the project. However, this is the update received from the Minister of Vrami and by extension the Nature Foundation. The Nature Foundation has recently hired a new terrestrial ranger who will be leading the invasive species management work after a long and difficult recruitment period. Even with the staffing limitations in 2023 and 2024, the Foundation completed population service, nest predation studies, and trapping activities to properly monitor the impacts and evaluate management techniques focused on the green monkey species. This resulted in the capture and euthanasia of more than 50 green monkeys. While the work will continue for the rest of the 2024 and throughout the 2025, throughout the year 2025, the Foundation will also be expanding the focus of invasive species project to analyze the impact of other invasive species on the island and explore area-based management activities. Additionally, the Foundation will continue to partner with French St. Maarten, Ceiba, Statia, and Anguilla, with works regarding invasive species management and biosecurity between our countries. MP Arian also asked if he suggested or made a statement that Aruba has a season for hunting python snakes, and can't we consider something similar? Thank you for bringing this to our attention, and we will be looking into your suggestion. Then the legislation regarding possession of a weapon on personal land. Does this law still exist on St. Maarten? This question will have to be redirected to the Ministry of Justice. I don't have the answer to that as yet, but I would love to get an answer on that. So I will get that, and maybe I can send it to you in writing to confirm it. And how much of the local consumption in St. Kitts is produced locally, and what is our calculation for food security? Now, according to the ministry, St. Kitts is currently boosting its local production to reduce imports and assist neighboring islands as well. They currently have an 85% gap, which they are trying to close by at least 25% by the end of the year. So for St. Maarten, the objective is to reach as close as the CARIBCOM 20 by 2025 target as possible. Next, I have questions by MP Duran. MP Duran agrees with the tax exemptions, but needs to broaden the scope with small businesses, broadening and the categorization. Continuity remains a challenge, he stated, and water incentives. So tax exemptions and could be a potential discrimination, MP stated, and was thought to put into a broadening the scope as it relates to tax exemptions for businesses as well, just like MP. Same concern as MP Arian. The MP, I do agree with your sentiments and concern. Indeed, we are taking this along with the Ministry of Finance to discuss as part of the fiscal reforms. Indeed, when it comes to diversification overall, fiscal reforms has been the biggest cry for our stakeholders and for quite some time. Ensuring that it is a win-win situation for both the government and the private sector is key. Question from MP Duran. Has the minister had time to develop a cost timeline for the establishment of the department? I answered that already. And also, I think one of the last questions from MP Duran, what is the update on the 7 million request for funding by the Groeifonds when it comes to agriculture? The answer to that question is that Groeifonds has not been opened for countries CAS and BES to date as yet. Then I go on to the questions from MP Sarah, the chairlady, MP Sarah Westcott-Williams. Sorry. MP Westcott-Williams is interested in the status of the EU project and the status of what needs to be done. This question will be redirected to the Minister of General Affairs to provide an update, especially from the Department of BAC, so I can get that question and maybe give the MP this answer in writing. Then the monkeys project to reduce the monkeys population. Where are we with this program? This answer was already provided by MP Artwell Arian's question. And then we look into the land situation in Suriname and elsewhere. Any updates regarding that? Again, we are still in the fact-finding stage, and there are several options or countries that we may be able to consider. So a definitive answer regarding this is currently not, a definitive answer is currently not available. Then regarding the CWA conference happening in October 7th to the 11th to St. Vincent. Well, sorry, but due to budgetary constraints, the ministry will not be attending this conference this year, unfortunately. And I think I have been able to answer all the questions. If not, through you, Madam Chair Lady, if I have skipped anything, I'd like the members of Parliament to let me know, and if there are need of any clarifications, I'm also here to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister, for your responses to the questions asked. I look to the members of Parliament if any have any follow-ups, and I see MP Irion requesting the floor. MP Irion, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Regarding the answers that you sent in writing, I'll look forward to those. And question regarding the Nature Foundation, or the answer regarding the Nature Foundation, again, more research about invasive species. I think that's going to be another couple of years of the same thing. We already delayed already 2 to 3 years already based on the money already given to them. We have Tattoo Bear Roots. I'm pretty sure he has all the knowledge already. He could just tell the department that these are the invasive species and they have to go. I don't think we have to do a whole lot of research again. I feel it's almost like at this point, it's almost like a delay tactic. Instead of an execution tactic. So that's my only comment on that.
Thank you, MP Irion. I see MP Brug requesting the floor. MP Brug, you have the floor.
Thank you. It's not a question that I asked directly, but one of my previous colleagues asked it, but I don't remember if I heard the answer. Pertaining to policies or legislations that needs to be how do you say, created or legislated in order for us to assist you in this quest. I don't know if you mentioned it in your answers. Yeah, if anything, it can also be sent in writing that as parliamentarians we can start to work on that as well.
I see MP Doran, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Through you, thank you to the Minister for the answers provided. I wasn't sure if I understood you correctly, but can clarity be given if there already exists where a category with small businesses, or that distinction has never been made? So that when we talk about tax exemption initiatives, that it is clear that we are doing a particular group and not just, for instance, persons that are busy with agriculture, if they can be then grouped to small business, medium, or large enterprises. So I don't know if clarity can be given to that, because that was the question. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Doran. MP Mingret also has a question, Minister, so I'll let him direct that to you, and then you can respond to MP Doran. MP Mingret.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, Madam Chair, just a couple questions. There's one question I would like to ask the Minister. It's regarding with the tax exemption. How would the tax exemption specifically benefit the local farmers? Would these exemptions help reduce operational costs, encourage investment in new technologies, or increase profitability? Just wanted to know that. Through you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Mingret. MP Irion, you had another comment?
Yes, regarding the tax exemptions, and I want to follow up on the question posed by MP Doran. So some of these agricultural institutions, they're not all businesses, they're also foundations. So the question, for example, posed by MP Doran and MP Mingret, were referring to businesses. And the MP also asked for this, basically to not see a discrimination among businesses, but now you have foundations. So that actually means that we don't want to see this discrimination among foundations either. And foundations already have a certain level of, let's say, depending on how you file, you could become a NGO or a sort of a tax exempt, let me correct myself, have certain exemptions based on how you file. So we really need to actually identify how we want to advise entities going forward, how they should set up. Because one is a foundation, one is a business, one is a sole proprietor. So are we also, as a ministry, going to advise what is the best entity for business, if it's a BV, NV, foundation, so SP? What is the advice going to be? Because now you're going to be dealing with, the policy now does not indicate which entity gets the tax exemption. Because then you will have a big problem now trying to identify who is what going forward.
Thank you, MP Irion. MP Roseberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the answers, Minister. Just to clarify, in regards to the two projects that are about to start in the schools, are both starting next month, or is it one project, one of the two projects that is starting next month? And also in regards to what exactly is being taught, could Parliament get more information on that? And then in regards to the other question that I asked in connection to the rehabilitation/resocialization aspect, I was referring to Turning Point because I know Turning Point already has agriculture project. And then the question was more related if the ministry, in connection with justice, can look into how that is functioning. I understood from the director that is going pretty well, and then to see how that can then also be incorporated within the justice system. So it wasn't separated for Turning Point because I know that that's already in place, so that maybe the studies from Turning Point can also be taken in consideration for the juvenile prison and also the Point Blanche prison. So just to clarify that. That was all.
Thank you, MP Roseberg. MP Irion, you have the floor.
And I think MP Jacobs asked this question. I don't remember getting an answer on this. I'll go in a little deeper. Regarding the marketplace, I've been getting a lot of questions recently about the marketplace, and will there be new opportunities for locals to have stalls at the marketplace? And then, for example, like MP Roseberg mentioned, maybe Turning Point could have some of their produce sold in collaboration with an existing stall already, and the schools and so forth, that they could now generate a little bit of funds that goes back to them. So will there be opportunities for new stalls? How would this decision be made so that locals could also participate in not just having, for example, selling clothing, but other cultural and food?
Thank you, MP Irion. Minister, do you need some time to, you can go right into the question? Okay. Minister, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. To answer some of the questions or clarifications posed by MP Irion, you are correct. I should have a meeting with Tatio Barefoot. I know he's a strong proponent of the invasive species, against them, totally, right exactly where you think. He's on the same page with you. So maybe I haven't had a meeting yet with the Nature Foundation. So I will have a meeting with them and see that we can go maybe straight into the execution instead of maybe going through and making a whole report and doing research again. With regards to the policy from MP Brug, stated if there's some policies in place. Remember, I stated earlier, MP Brug, through you, Madam Chair Lady, that we're busy creating policies already for agriculture. So this will be, we will follow it in close collaboration with the ALF policy. So whatever's in there, we're still in the beginning stages of it. So next year, the idea is, between now and next year, the idea is to create all these different criteria. And once I have a full structure in place, I can come back to Parliament and maybe even update Parliament on what policies to look out for the creation of the ALF department. MP Duran also made a very good suggestion regarding the categories. I understand, MP Duran, in my answer, I stated that we will be doing fiscal discussion with Minister of Finance to maybe create a structure, and I think I'm answering both MP Duran and MP Arian's question here, that we will be sitting with the Ministry of Finance to create a structure in place as to how we're going to categorize it. Maybe we should be asking, should farmers have foundations? Should farmers have BVs? Should farmers have NVs? Maybe based on that criteria, we will then maybe put something in place so that the farmers can be in alignment with that. Because I know of a farmer that has a BV, and I know of a farmer that has foundation. Where do they fall into that category? So that's something we're still in the preliminary phases of trying to come to a full understanding of. MP Mingret also requests the tax exemption for farmers. No, yes. The tax exemption of farmers. Yes, it will reduce costs and yes, create more profit for the farmers, because it's a very expensive endeavor, farming. So that is mainly what, that's really why we want to support the farmers by doing that. MP Roseberg also mentioned about the project for next month. It is the aquaponic project that's going to be starting next month, yes. And also, she also gave a clarity on the turning point. Yes, that's another entity I haven't met with. I will be doing so. Thank you for that. I'll do that and maybe incorporate it also to see how we can also implement that for the inmates in Point Blanche. And then we have I think MP Jacobs requested something regarding the policy. That one, I think I missed the last one. Hold on 1 minute.
Would you like MP Arian to repeat MP Jacobs' question that he requested? The stalls, yes, at the market.
Yes, yes, indeed. I mentioned it in my presentation. It wasn't missed. I actually stated that we're working on a policy for the marketplace to diversify what is being sold there. And yes, also include farmers. That's something also that I had in mind of doing. So we have space in there to have more locals come into the marketplace and maybe even diversify what is sold. So maybe even some agriculture or locally created artifacts, designs, or any kind of locally created products. We want to we want to really diversify that market. It can't be the exact same thing across the board. So that we're working together and internally to create a policy to make sure that that's possible by the time the new market vending place is available, and hopefully have some opportunities for business, anyone in the business community, anyone that wants to do that kind of business to have a vending license and do so. Yes, and I think I may have covered everything.
Thank you, Minister, for the answers to the questions from members of Parliament. I myself, unfortunately, arrived late to the meeting, but I did listen in. I don't have a question per se, but more of a suggestion, in particular, as we look towards improving corporate social responsibility from not just the local businesses, but those developments that are hotels, condos, etc. Last year, during the royal visit, as you know, we sat with the royal family, and in one of the conversations that I had with Queen Maxima, she mentioned water treatment systems basically located at the developments, having them all pitch in, because that will actually make it more feasible for farmers to get access to water. As I heard MPs mention, that is one of the more costly factors in farming. Even if you look at hydroponics, it's still water, and you don't need drinkable water to be able to farm. So with that, I would just suggest moving forward that government look into that and having them pitch in as well for their presence on Sint Maarten. With that, I do not see any other questions. I want to thank the members of Parliament for their participation and thank the Minister of TEAT and her support staff for being here today. and for providing the necessary information. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of this meeting. I thank you all for your participation, and I hereby close this meeting.